What's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a color correction, and it was quite a big color correction because the client that came in had super long hair down to her waist, no joke. She has previous brown hair color along with some balayage and some highlights going on, and it's been about 6 months since she got her hair done, and she is ready for a major hair transformation. So we're going to be taking her from really dark brown and to this really vibrant copper red shade, which I'm super excited about. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to show it to you. So stay tuned, check it out. And before we move on, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you don't miss a tutorial. Now let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so here's my model, and I'm really bummed because I didn't get the proper amount of video content on my actual camera, but I got some on my phone. She has previous colored hair with some highlights, so brown hair dye. So this is why I'm going to be using Malibu CPR. I ended up using 2 packets on her hair, and basically what this is going to do is reduce and remove up to 3 levels of unwanted pigment, of oxidative color pigment, because that's exactly what she has in there with all of that dark brown hair dye, specifically colored about 6 months ago. And what I like about this product is it's not going to alter her natural pigment by any means, but we basically did a clarifying shampoo on her first, and you're going to apply this onto damp hair. And we actually did this at the chair because her hair was just too dang long to fit inside of the bowl. So we basically went section by section, making sure to really work it in to those mids and ends, section by section, and then put a processing cap right on top of her hair and processed her underneath the dryer for a full 30 minutes. If you want to know how to mix this up and learn more about it, there's actually a link to Malibu in the description of this video. Using Malibu CPR was an essential step in this color correction because she had that previous brown hair dye, and in order to give her the vibrancy that she wants in that copper shade that we're going to give her, we needed to do this step. Now, something to keep in mind, she did ask me to give her a solid copper shade, but also one that was dimensional. So a copper shade that didn't have necessarily highlights, but something that was going to be dimensional. And I feel like we achieved that with this application that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So once she was done processing under the dryer for 30 minutes, we took her back to the shampoo bowl, did a really good rinse, shampoo, and then a light condition on the mids and ends. One thing to note is that because her hair was so long, we spent the majority of our time detangling, so I did need an extra pair of hands while doing the service, which you can see my assistant here. She is working this product in while I'm filming, and I was a little limited on time to get the full steps, but hopefully this will provide you with enough inspiration in this video to do something similar or spark your interest to try this technique on a client of yours. Once she was all detangled, I basically sectioned her off into 4 quadrants and decided to do a platinum card balayage for her. And you can see that I'm just painting on my lightener, getting kind of close to the root, but mostly just surface painting as I get towards the top, but really working in my lightener basically a few inches down and really working it in on those mids and ends, and just laying it one right on top of each other. And I did this to each and every single section of her hair until I was happy with the amount of lift that we got. One thing to note is that I did use blue powder lightener at a 1:2 mixing ratio with 20 volume developer. And the reason why I decided to do lightener is because she had that previous hair color on her hair, and then also to give me the vibrancy that I was looking for out of the color that we achieved at the very end, which you'll see. So in order to get a really vibrant shade of copper or even red, I love using 20 volume lightener just to bump it up to that level 7, because you're going to get the maximum amount of vibrancy out of the color. Something to note is that yes, her hair is wet. I decided to do a wet application because I wasn't looking for the most aggressive form of my lightener. This is really just to bump up the pigment just a little bit, as well as really focusing on saturating those mids and ends. So this is why I do more of that surface painting towards the top, but I'm saturating where that previous color was at. And overall, this is going to help me kind of get an even lift for what we were trying to achieve with this copper shade. Each of my sections are about a 1/2 inch thick, and like I said, I'm painting kind of close to the root area, just more of a surface paint because I want that natural graduation, and I am going to be using permanent color when we're all finished with this. But going forward, after we're done with this correction today, we'll just need to do permanent on her roots and then do a glaze on everything else for each of her appointments in order to maintain the vibrancy. Just note that if you want the maximum lift out of your lightener, you will want to apply it onto dry hair and do a more traditional platinum card. So keep in mind, this technique is a little unconventional. It is applied on wet hair, and the water is going to act as a dilution tool for me with the lightener. And again, this is just to give me a little bit of a break in the color. I'm not looking for maximum lift out of this. Some tips when doing balayage is to not be afraid to use your hands. This is how you get that really nice, beautiful blend. So each of my sections are combed out with a wet brush, so that way I have a nice, even surface to work with. And make sure that you're using enough lightener and turning your brush sideways and just stroking the brush up and nice and flat against the head. And I do use my hands quite a bit. So the reason why you want to use your hands and the brush and all of that is because in order to get the blend, basically what you see is almost what you get when doing painting. So what you see visually, how the lightener looks on the hair, is exactly how it's going to lift. This is why you see me really pushing it in towards those mids and ends and really working that product in. It's because I want it to be saturated, but towards the top, I'm just using the flat part of my hand to stroke up and down, and that's how you get that blend. It does take a little practice if you're new to balayage, but it is a technique that's been widely used for over the past decade now, and it's continuing to evolve, and this is just one technique that I use when doing correction. I'm going to continue on applying my lightener in all 4 quadrants in the exact same manner. Just one thing to know when you're working with this long of hair, I actually wish I had those from our bibs to put on the back, and I totally ran out of those. So to compromise, or improvise rather, I'm using foil to lay the hair away from her face. It did get a little tricky when she wanted to get up, so I ended up having to help her get her bag or a drink or whatever she needed, because a painting like this, you do need to have your client sit still for the entire process because her hair is just way too long. It literally went down to her waist. If you want to check out another way to do a platinum card technique, be sure to click the link in the description of this video, and it's done on a much shorter hair, but a very similar technique with a very different and natural outcome. Overall, take your time if you want. You can also use cotton in between the sections if you're new to hair painting and you feel like you need a little bit of separation towards the base. Cotton is a great separator. And then also foil. I typically would probably foil this if I wanted to get a much lighter and brighter end result. And the foil is going to be your heat conductor to basically incubate your lightener so you get the most brightness out of it. So overall, make sure you use thin sections and brush through each of your sections. Take your time to surface paint and saturate paint. Make sure you use your hands. Make sure that your brush is nice and flat, and decide how much brightness and lightness you want out of this. That's going to determine your application of a foil or open air. So this is all open air done on wet hair to further dilute. And then I basically used a total of 3 bowls of lightener on her and processed her. Actually, we ended up washing out a portion of her hair first and then allowed for the rest of the hair to process because it wasn't quite done. Again, this is because her hair was so long, so it took quite a bit of time to work through each and every single section. But overall, I think we got a nice even lift and the type of lift that we could achieve in this one session. There were a couple little areas where the color just wasn't quite budging, and that's because I probably could have applied it onto dry hair and got a better lift out of it. But overall, this gave me a nice canvas for the dimensional copper shade that we ended up with. So once she was done processing, we completely rinsed her out. I would say overall 30 minutes, and we got a really great base to work with, and we 100% dried her hair just to prepare her for the maximum saturation using permanent color. And then we did do one final gloss on top of the copper, and this is what I like to call double dipping. So first we go in with the permanent shade to make sure we got that nice even canvas, and then one more time with the demi-permanent just to really richen it up and seal it in. When working on a full color application, I actually love using this brush in particular. It's by Zero Time, and if you want to check that out, the link is in the description of this video, or you can click on the link at the very top of this video. But you can see you get lots of coverage with this brush, and they actually have 3 different sizes. I use this brush quite a bit, and I actually don't film enough with it to show you guys, so this was a perfect opportunity in this candid YouTube video to show you how awesome this brush really is. I ended up applying my roots in just about under 10 minutes, to be honest, and then I got the rest of the color on her ends, which I didn't film, but here is the formula. I used all Kenra color, and for her roots I decided to use 6 CN, that's 6 copper natural with 20 volume developer. And then for her mids and ends, I mixed up 6 CN equal parts to 7 CN, 1-to-1 with 20 volume developer. We processed her for 30 minutes, room temperature, did a final shampoo and light condition, and then applied her final gloss onto damp hair using Kenra Professional Demi-Permanent. 3/4 of 7 cc and 1/4 of my formula was 6R, giving them that really rich copper red finish and super dimensional. I am absolutely obsessed with this formula. And here is the final result of my dimensional red color correction. Look how gorgeously vibrant this color is. I actually had her come in the next morning so we could take a better look and picture of the final color in actual daylight, because it was super late when she left. Comment down below if you love this just as much as I do. So I really hope you enjoyed this hair tutorial, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe, and comment down below what your favorite part of this entire tutorial was, and I'll be sure to respond. You can also find me on my other social channels like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, all under Morella Manelli. And if you want to find more free education in your inbox, head to morellamanelli.com and sign up for my newsletter, and you'll be sure to get my latest info on everything hair. And if you love listening to podcasts, be sure to check out my podcast called Hair B&B. It's a podcast where I help hairstylists just like you simplify hair color, become confident in styling, and help you achieve your business goals. And finally, be sure to check out my other hair tutorials right here on this channel, and be sure to share this video with a friend who would love this free education that I provide on this platform, and I will see you in the next video.